Let me give you a quick example. You're having a deep conversation with someone. They ask questions. They lean in. They want you to open up. So you talk, and somewhere along the way you realize they never shared anything back. They just took. Quietly. Now imagine that's you right now. Watching this video. Taking the value. Not giving anything back. No like. No sub. Nothing. And if that hits? Good. It should. Because I spent hours writing this. You're about to learn a manipulation tactic people pay for in therapy, training, and interrogation rooms. And it's yours for free. So before we go any further, hit like, subscribe, give back, or don't. But just remember, silence says more than words. They don't even know they're doing it. But they're telling you everything. Confessions aren't pulled out by force. They're planted, built, triggered. And if you understand how to shape that moment, they'll spill things they swore they'd never say out loud. Even if they hate you. Even if they're trained not to. Let's begin. Why do some people open up instantly while others shut down? Why do nice people sometimes make you feel tense while someone cold makes you spill your secrets? And what's the one manipulation tactic that can make anyone hand over the truth without knowing why? You're not here for surface level tips. So I'm not giving you any. You're getting exactly how this tactic works step by step in real social situations. Not theory, not role play, but weaponized conversation control, built to extract truth. Now we go in. Point 1. Vulnerability as a weapon. They think they're in control when they're talking. But control is never in the mouth, it's in the silence that comes before and after. So here's where it starts. You want someone to confess? You lead with false vulnerability. Tell them something that feels personal, but isn't. Not because you trust them, but because they need to feel like you're not a threat. Why? Because confession is emotional balance. If they feel they're too guarded and you're open, they'll start to loosen up. They won't know why, but their brain will say, match the energy. You say, yeah, I know how that feels. I used to second guess myself all the time, but I stopped bringing it up. That's not real vulnerability. That's bait. It gives them a clear emotional lane to enter. And the moment they say, yeah, me too, honestly, you've started the descent. Now shut up. This is where most people screw it up. They rush the moment. They chase the confession. They try to pull it out. You disappear into silence. And that brings us to tactic 2. Weaponized silence. The most powerful move you'll ever make in a conversation is saying nothing. Silence is a mirror. It forces people to look into themselves, and most can't stand what they see. So when you've baited the emotional hook, you do the opposite of what they expect. You go quiet. You stay still. You give them no validation, no reaction, just presence. And their brain starts to spiral. Did I say too much? Did they judge me? Why aren't they responding? Now here's what matters. Don't break the silence first. You've created tension. Let it sit. Let them try to escape it. They'll escape it by filling it, and what they'll fill it with is more truth. Confession isn't given. It's leaked. And silence is the crack. Point 3. Mirror. Then twist. Here's where most people blow it. They hear something juicy and go straight for the kill. But direct pressure creates resistance. So instead of pushing, you mirror. Let's say they say something surface level. I guess it just didn't bother me that much. You don't say, are you sure? You don't say, you're lying. You say this, didn't bother you, or it still kind of does. See what that does? You're not accusing. You're not confronting. You're tilting the frame just enough to destabilize their version of the truth. This technique is called guided reflection. You're not offering answers. You're giving them just enough doubt to dig deeper on their own. And when they do, they don't feel manipulated. They feel understood. That's the illusion. You never gave them a reason to confess, you just rearranged their reasons for staying silent. This is critical. Don't reward the confession. No, wow. No, really. No, that's crazy. Because the second they feel like they're being watched, like they gave you too much, they start backpedaling emotionally. Instead, you stay cold. Still. Flat. Your tone doesn't change. Your eye contact doesn't break. You don't give them a reaction, you give them space. This creates contrast. Their emotion rises. Yours doesn't. And the brain can't resist filling that emotional imbalance. So what happens? They give you more. They go deeper. They confess not just what happened, but why it mattered. That's where the truth lives. Not in the facts, but in the feelings they tried to hide from themselves. Point 5. The loop technique, repetition for exposure. Here's something most people don't notice. People confess in pieces. They test your reaction. They drop 10% and wait. If you react, they retreat. If you stay calm, they give you the next 10. So you use loops, small, subtle repetitions that circle back to something they already said, but this time you go deeper. Let's say they told you, yeah, I guess it hurt a little. You wait. Let the silence bite. Then 5 minutes later, you say, you said it hurt a little. What does that mean exactly? You're not interrogating. You're inviting. And the brain can't resist finishing unfinished thoughts, especially ones they themselves started. They go, I don't know. I guess it felt like rejection. Now you've gone from a vague hurt to rejection. That's a different emotional layer. That's real. You don't need new information. You need deeper versions of what's already been said. This is how therapists operate. This is how elite interrogators get criminals to talk. Not with pressure, but with precision loops. Each time you circle back, you open a deeper part of the vault. Point 6. Stay detached from the emotion. This part is crucial, maybe the hardest. Because when someone confesses something real, a fear, a trauma, a failure, your instinct is to respond emotionally, to comfort, to react. Don't stay emotionally disconnected. You don't reward it. You don't reject it. You let it land, like a stone hitting water. This communicates one thing. This isn't the deepest part yet. And their mind races. They didn't flinch. That didn't shock them. Maybe I can go further. That's where you want them. Because once they believe you can hold their truth without reacting, they'll give you the part they've never said out loud. Not to friends. Not to therapists. Not even to themselves. And they'll walk away thinking, I don't know why I told them all that. But you will. Because you built the room. You controlled the silence. You offered no reaction. And you let them pour themselves into it. You didn't take the confession. You made them need to give it. Integration, letting it land, now you understand. People don't confess because they trust you. They confess because they trust the version of you you let them see. And the version they see is never complete. Never emotional. Never desperate. It's calm. Still. Receptive. That's the real tactic. You make them feel like you already know and you're just waiting for them to catch up. Because what most people don't realize is this. The brain doesn't chase what it has. It chases what feels unfinished. That's why this works. You leave something just out of reach. A pause. A glance. A withheld response. They start to confess not because you asked, but because you created a space where not confessing feels unnatural. And when they leave that room, when they go home, alone, thinking about what they just said, they don't remember what you asked. They remember how they felt, seen, exposed, drawn out. And they'll feel it again the next time they see you. Even if you say nothing. Especially if you say nothing. Because now, you live in the space where they said too much. You want the truth? Here it is. Manipulation isn't about pushing people. It's about letting them fall and making them think it was their idea. It's about mastering rhythm. About silence. About presence. Most people try to control others by talking more. You're going to control them by saying less. And if you do it right, they'll walk away thinking they finally opened up to someone who gets them. But really? They opened the door and you never even moved. Now, if you want to learn how to use this same technique to not just get confessions but get compliance, watch the next video I'm linking on screen right now. It's called Say Less, Control More. You'll never have to chase power again. You'll become the reason people give it to you. Real-world application, relationships and power. You're sitting across from someone you like. You want to connect, to know them. But the second you show that hunger, they pull back. Sound familiar? People run from pressure, but they lean into emotional gaps. So instead of chasing, you flip it. You play presence, stillness, depth. You don't ask for their story, you pull it out without a word. They talk. You mirror. You listen. You say something quiet like, sounds like you carry that more than you show. Now watch their face. They'll pause. And then it all starts pouring out. You've just given them permission, not by being open, but by being still. Same thing works in power environments. In a meeting, don't try to speak first. Let others perform. And when they've danced for attention, you cut in, once, softly, just curious. How did you come to that conclusion? Not aggressive. Not emotional. Now they feel they need to justify their logic to you. You've just shifted the power dynamic without interrupting, without force. And if they try to bluff, you go silent again. Let the silence cook them. Silence makes the confident sharper and the uncertain unravel. Now let's talk about what happens after. This technique doesn't end with a confession. It loops. Because when someone gives you a truth they didn't expect to give, they keep thinking about it. They wonder, why did I say that? Did they judge me? What do they know now? You've planted a hook, and the silence you left behind becomes the thing they obsess over. That's how you live in their mind without saying a word. And the more you maintain that contrast, stillness, clarity, presence, the more they spiral. They think about you more. They speak about you differently. They feel vulnerable around you, but they can't explain why. That's control. Not with lies, but with atmosphere. Why they obsess over you after the confession you didn't just get them to confess. You gave them a feeling they can't name. And that's what sticks. It's not what you said. It's what you didn't say. It's the space you left behind after the moment ended. You didn't comfort them. You didn't react. You didn't do what every other person would have done. And now their brain starts searching. Did I say too much? Do they see me differently now? Why do I want to talk to them again? The more they search, the deeper the loop. They obsess not because they understand you, but because they don't. That's the most addictive feeling the mind can experience. Unresolved tension. And as long as you stay in that space, not overgiving, not over-explaining, not breaking the frame, you'll keep the power. Ethical gray area. Use it or abuse it. Let's talk ethics. Because by now you realize this isn't a communication tip. It's a psychological weapon. And every weapon has a choice. You can use it to connect deeper with people who need space to open up. Or you can use it to control and let people undress their mind while you stay dressed in armor. That's your decision. But know this, if you use it to manipulate for ego, you'll win short-term and lose loyalty. But if you use it with intention, to understand, to guide, to lead, you'll gain power that no one can trace, but everyone will feel. Because this isn't about making people talk. It's about changing the energy in the room so they forget they had a choice. Here's the truth most people never learn. Power doesn't come from being louder. It comes from being the quietest one in the room whose silence forces people to speak more, admit more, feel more. That's who you're becoming. You're not just learning how to make people confess. You're learning how to control the frame, the atmosphere. You're not chasing information. You're building the conditions where people give it to you voluntarily because the silence you hold is louder than any question you could ask. And if you do this right, you'll never have to ask again. They'll hand it to you word by word, layer by layer. They'll walk away thinking they just had a deep conversation, but you'll walk away knowing they just gave you the keys. That's what this really is, not manipulation for drama, not tactics for social clout, but calculated emotional leverage used slowly, used quietly, used like a knife behind velvet. And if you made it this far, you're not just curious, you're dangerous now. Because once you learn how to make people confess, you also learn how to make them obey. Follow, attach. That's what comes next. So here's your final test. Don't subscribe to this channel because I told you to. Do it because you know I didn't have to. Click the next video. Say less. Control more. I'll see you there.